Okay, and welcome. It's a windy Sunday night at the moment, and I thought I've got a bit of spare time, so I thought I would do a quick video on tinkercad again, just to show you how easy it is to create your own 3D models and print them off for your model railway. Originally, I actually designed these on Blender. Now, Blender is a free program. It's a fantastic program, but mainly I use that for 3D graphics and 3D creation. I've used it for 3D prints. It's got some very handy tools in it for creating 3D models for print, but it can be quite overwhelming for somebody who is just starting off learning how to create their own 3D models for print. So I'm going to design these, well, I'm going to create these in tinkercad just to show, because tinkercad is yet again a free program, but it's a fantastic program for somebody who's starting off 3D printing. So I have these telephone poles. Now these are the ones that I created in Blender. This is a Hornby product. So I'm going to create something similar. I have kind of matched the dimensions. I also have had a look online at pictures. As my model railway is based in the 1930s, so I've had a look at kind of pictures of old telephone poles. Now I have a number of these around the layout, but I would like to create some more, and I would like to create some unique ones and replace them. So we're going to, what I've done is I've taken some basic dimensions of this one, used that for scaling. This one, I don't know where I went wrong with the scaling on that, but it's way too big. The actual pole itself is way too thick for that. This one is more suited, so I'm going to pretty much try and copy this in tinkercad and print it off, just to show you how easy it is to use tinkercad for creation. So anyway, I'll go over to the computer. Okay, here we are at the desktop computer. It's now the next morning, as I had, well, ran out of time to record this little bit last night. So I am now going to switch. Also, I need to apologise. This is now on the shit cam, but as I'm just going to be in the bottom left hand corner, we can kind of get on with this now. So we're now in tinkercad. So I am going to recreate what I've done in Blender using tinkercad, and as I said, it's a lot easier for somebody that doesn't know, kind of, well, finds a kind of professional graphics program a bit intimidating. So tinkercad, first thing we do, we should change this to it's a telephone pole or a power pole, so that I'm saying I've already, so we'll do number 2. So first things first is we will create the pole. We need to make that, I've measured the other ones as 90 millimeters. First of all, just to explain the grid is based on 1 millimeter per small square and 10 millimeters for the big square, and this keeps it all to scale when you're transferring it across onto the slicer. Down the right hand side you have your snap to grid. If you need to move it 5mm left and right, you can, and obviously this all snaps to 5mm in 5mm sections. I like to start off just with 1mm to start off with. So you have a selection of these shapes, basic shapes, on the right hand side. I've dragged a cylinder into this. There are many different shapes, and there are many more different shapes and kind of pre-made stuff that are very handy. You've got things like shape generators, which basically have been added. These are all handy. You've got things like walls and all sorts. You can even create a map of Britain on there, and there are lots and lots of generators on this. So text generators and cogs and all sorts of different interesting things that it allows you to kind of manipulate and use for your 3D prints. So all I'm using is the basic shapes just now. So go to basic shapes, and I've dragged a cylinder across. Now I want that 90. When you just hover over any of these little squares, it will show you the dimensions. The dimensions will come up. So I want that, and I've measured the pole at 3mm now, and basically 90 tall. So what I'll do is, if you just click on one of these little squares, it keeps these showing. You can click on them, and I want that to be 3mm by 3mm, so that's your pole diameter. Next thing I want to do is I want to rotate this. Now there are little arrows that show you that you can rotate this. Now I want to basically rotate it flat onto the work plane. So I need to come out a wee bit. If I rotate that 90, and then we've got all these little options up here. This one on the very right hand side lets you place it straight onto the work plane. The next thing I want to do with this is, first of all, I want to copy it and move that over. Now you can use the arrow keys to move that left and right and up and down, depending on what your orientation is. Now that's up and down. To move that, if I click on that, I move that up and down and right and left. It's an easy way to move them about. You can also just use that. Sometimes it drags it off the work plane, but that's okay. So if you want to move that for quickness. The other thing you can do using these arrow keys, you move them up and down, right and left, and if you hit shift, that will move, it moves it up and down in larger increments. If you hit, control, you can move that off the plane and back down onto the plane. So if you hit control and use the up and down arrows, that will move it up and down, opposed to left and right and up and down. So yeah, move that over, save that, keep that just now. The first thing I want to do is I want to basically cut the end of this. Most poles, fence poles, things like that, do have an angled cut so they can let rain run off. Now this, because of the scale, and we're printing off in PLA, the detail is not great unless you've actually got a resin printer. I'll show you this quickly, how to do this, just to cut a wee angled cut on that. If I bring one of these, which is a hollow cube, this will cut against the actual pole. So if I move that into place, great, I just got a WhatsApp message. Super. I thought I turned notifications off. Okie dokie. So I've moved that into place. I just want to tilt this just a little bit. If I tilt it, when you're rotating, if you click on that, it does have snap increments on that. You can actually select a certain angle, or you can just, if you go further out the circle, you can just tilt it to what you want. Now I just want that at a simple angle. Clearly now, because I've already moved it, it's just showing how much you're rotating it back. So I want this to intersect with this pole. So if I move that in, you can see where it intersects with that. Now what I want to do is I want to make it just a wee bit more than that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to now, so it cuts right through the end of that pole at an angle. If I now select both of them and use this tool here, which is Union Group, because that's marked as hollow, it will intersect through that, giving us the cut that we want. So if I hit Union Group, it will cut through like so. So now we have that cut across the pole at an angle. Another thing I would like to do is if we take, now this section will sit above the board. What I want to do is create a smaller section using this. Bring that down. What we want to do is make the diameter slightly smaller. This is so that potentially you can actually, no, I don't want to do that. Make that 20. And we make the height, if I click on this one, 2. This will make this one slightly smaller. Now what I want to do is I want to drag that across down to here, leave roughly about 10 mil, so I'm going to move this up so you can see it. So it'll sit just on that box there. As you can see now, this pole is not lined up to the grid. Easy way to do that is go to 0.1 millimeter, move the down arrow until it does, and we've got it lined up. We want to line this up now centre. Now because we're printing this, we want this to sit on the work plane. So if I move this, I'll centre up along this pole here. So if I click on both of them, and then this little tool here up on the right hand side, if I click on that, it gives me these options, and these are the centre points. So if I click on that, it will give me the centre points of that, the bigger pole. I just want to line this up on this centre point here and not line it up on to the middle of that circle. Reason being, as I said, it's printing out. I want that flat on the printing bed when I print. Doesn't necessarily need to be a particular length, because this is a section that will potentially, you drill a small hole and then push that into the board. Alternatively, you can make base plates for them, but this is the way I like to do that, so that you've not got a big giant base plate showing on the model railway. So now that I've done that, I want to combine these two. Now, just like the same we did with the hollow cube, we use this to create a union group. And once we do that, it creates a union group, so this makes it now one section. Let's copy this, and we will put that back to 1mm. And we'll move this across out the road. And we've got this one that we're going to work on. Next thing, we want to create the cross beams for the cables and the insulators. Now, generally, yeah, the little telephone poles, but generally I think they'd be carrying power with them back in the 1930s. So we've got to recreate the little insulators on that as well. Don't need to go into too much detail. Excuse me while I have a drink of my coffee. Sorry about that. So we want to create cross beams, so we just drag a cube across. We want to get these dimensions. Now I've measured these poles at the width of 25mm. So just click 25, and the kind of diameter of the actual pole itself is 1.5. So yet again, if we click on that, put 1.5. I'm doing this without my glasses on. So 1.5. Let's stick my glasses on so I can see. And we now have that pole in place, and it should show the dimensions up here. And I'll zoom in a wee bit further. So 1.5, and it shows 1.5. I want to create two. We could create two of these if we want. I'll use this for something else later on. I'll move that down. And next thing we want to do is create the little insulators on the sides here. To do this, there's a wee box up here that we can use at top, which gives you kind of better view. You can rotate that and click front. It just kind of clicks to a kind of plan view of that shape. Another thing we can do, we can make that kind of hollow so we can actually see where these points lie within the grid. I want to move that centre point to there. I'm going to change the snap to grid to point 1. We'll move it across using the arrow keys and down. We want it kind of in the centre here. That's roughly in the centre, that's fine. This will all become apart in a minute. So we'll make that, no, we won't try to drag that on. We want to click on that and make that solid again. So now we want to make our little insulators. Yet again, we've got a pole. Well, we get a cylinder, sorry. And we actually just want to make that 5. We'll make it 4 just now. There's a reason for this, because once we combine it all together, we can scale it down. Next thing we want to do is 4. This is going to be the top section, you'll see in a minute. So if I make that, say, 8 by 8, that's maybe a wee bit too big. If I make it 6, it's only 1 mil coming out of that pole. So let's make it 8 by 8. The next thing we want to do, if we can move this about, now use the scroll wheel on the mouse to zoom in and out. If you hold down on the scroll wheel, it moves the platform about, and if you hit shift, no, that's on Blender. If you have the right click button, you can zoom around it. So many different programs and so many different ways for different mouse functions. So that's going to leave us a diameter of 2mm around that. If I bring that right, bring the size right down, you'll see when I line these two up, if I line it up, the centre there and the centre there, that's going to give 2mm around that. Next thing I want to do, I don't need to make this so big. Let's combine them both of them. I just select on that one, bring that down, bring that, use the black arrow to move it up. The square changes the size, so we've got that now. Now I'd like a little dome on top. So we've got a sphere, or we've got a half sphere. So let's bring in a half sphere, make it the same dimensions. So it was 8mm by 8mm. Oh, 8mm. And we want to bring the dome down. As because we're printing PLA, it's not exactly the correct. It won't print off with great detail, to be honest. But it's, to be honest, it kind of still works. We want to move that into place, and we want to move this up to the top. So you can see what I'm trying to do here. Yet again, we want to line all of these up. So we'll select all three, and the alignment tool, align. I could just hit L for shortcut. I want to align that one and that one. That one again, yeah, that one obviously didn't click. And now we have these all aligned up. One thing you have to make sure is this is not floating above this. So you can bring that in and you can see the line where it crosses over. It won't matter because this is going to be tiny. Next thing I want to do is I want to just make this a wee bit smaller, and I'll move it up using Control and just bring this up. Next thing I want to do is select all three of them and make them a union group, and it makes it into one solid shape. The next thing I want to do is now downscale this. So if I, the bottom right hand cube, if I hit shift, now it scales it down uniformly to a point, and then you have to just get a bit more creative with it. So we'll kind of leave that at 2. You could type in the dimensions if you want. I want to rotate this to 90, stick it onto the bed, and now we're moving this across here. Now that does look just a wee bit big, so I'm going to scale this down uniformly again, and that looks roughly about right. Now move this in so it intersects here with the pole. And so we can go to the top function, and if we move it about, click on the top function, and now we can see that against the grid. What we can do is we can make a decision whether we want to work from outside or inside. So if I line that up, I'll make it whole. I'm going to copy that just now and move that out the road, just in case I mess this up. Now, that is dead center to that. So I want to make this into 1mm and just count how far along. So 1mm increments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that looks roughly about right. Next thing I want to do is I want to copy another one, line them up. Oh, I could just line them up using the line up tool, couldn't I? Line them up. Oh, it's actually shifted the other one. Let's go back. Let's try that one again. What I want to do. Right. Where's the one that's lined up perfectly? The original one. I'll go back again. So that one there. That one's one on the left hand side is lined up perfectly. What I want to do is take this one and line it up with that one. What we'll do is we bring these closer in. It's only basically a 0.5 millimeter gap. So if I select both of them, do the line up tool, click on this one first, and then line it up there, we now have that lined up perfectly. So if I go back to the grid, click on one of these, and I'll just eyeball it. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. That looks alright. So we've got 4 away from that one there. Now, this is 11 away from the centre, and that is 4 away from that one. So basically we have that should be 7 away from there. Yeah. What to do is copy this again. We will line them up. Let's see if I can just do this. So that's them lined up. Pull it into 1 millimeter increments in the snap grid. Move this across. Now remember, this one now is centered to there, and all we need to do is count 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And that's us. All good with that. So, next thing is we want to make these into solid shapes. I would like to copy these. I can group them. Let's say if you do bundle group instead of union group, so we've selected all 4, do bundle group. And if I now copy them, I have all 4 of them if I need to go back a bit. If I mess this up basically. So I'm going to move all these spares out the road. So yes, move these out the road. Way out the road. And we have this spare that we'll move to the side. And now we want to make these all a single unit. So this is where we go to union group. We've selected all of them. Union group, and it converts it into one single unit, I think. Yep. It's kept the colours for it, which is a bit unusual. It makes you kind of worry sometimes. This time, now from the top, it's about 5 millimeters from the top. So I'm going to just count from that edge down. We want, it's going to be kind of from that edge, we'll do 6 millimeters to this top point here. I'm going to move that across, and we're going to set it there. Before I do that, I'm going to fortunately line this back up again with this centre point right here. I want to create the little cross beams. So an easy way to do this is bring that other one back in. Go to make this one. If I turn this, I'm not changing this now, so I turn this 45 degrees. I've not tried this before. And I want to change the size to 1mm and the height to 1mm. I want to change the length of that roughly, let's say, to about 11 just now. Next thing I want to do is move this up and into that section here. Now we want this, if that's the centre point, we want that to lie on the centre point there. I want this to be coming out just before the insulators. I'm going to use the middle node on this, just let's zoom in, and we want it to line on that cross diagonal, so you can see that as I move the arrow down. Next thing I want to do is create another one of these, but I want to rotate that lengthwise, like so. Bring this in, and in theory, that should be our little supports. I'm going to copy that and move that away somewhere else, out the road. I'm just going to make this a union group now. Bum bum bum. Make it into one unit. I'm going to rotate it back. Now, the reason why I did that at an angle, and maybe show you if I can get this to spin round. I'll show you with another block. If I show you with this, I'm going to copy that and move it further in. I'll show you what happens. If you start off with this in line with the grid, and you decide to rotate it 45 degrees. I don't know if there's a workaround for this. If anybody knows tinkercad better, then please let me know. If you make that align at 45 degrees, you're still only able to change the dimensions on the horizontal. So yeah, you can do that, but as you can see, the actual shape gets bigger and smaller. It kind of scales it, and also when you're changing the angle, it elongates it, and this, the middle section, becomes thinner. So that's why I did what I did, so that I could keep that at 1mm. I hope that makes sense. Now, here's the magic. This is about where we copy this, make a duplicate. We get that one, we move that in roughly in place. And then we get this one and move this roughly in place. Roughly about 8mm between the two. Right, if you look at that, there's not centered, but easy enough. Select both of them, center them up on to the pole. Oh, let's try that again. centre them up to the pole, and there we go. Now we actually have a full model. So the next thing is to print this off. Well, first of all, I need to make this a union group, so it's one particular model. We go union group, and next thing is to export it as an STL into a relevant file, and what we'll do is then we'll put it into the slicer. So I will do that just now. Okay, as you can see, we are now in Orca Slicer. So what I'm going to do, I have saved my file, and I'm going to drag this across and drop it in. As you can see, we have what we've just created. Now just to go over this again, I've designed it so that everything sits flat on the printing bed. This is obviously to avoid using some supports. If you're printing off in resin, then obviously you can align these cross beams up on the centre, but as the detail's so small, I don't think it's really going to matter, to be honest, and you probably would be painting this anyway. So what I want to do is now slice the plate. It is going to be a whopping 2 minutes 42 seconds to print this off. Now I've changed the filament to a brown filament. So you mean obviously you can print it off in any colour you want. I am using a 0.4 nozzle, so we'll see how this turns out. And I will send this to the printer just now. Okay, we're back at the workbench. I have printed this off. It is very delicate, you can see. Oh, it's very shiny on my lighting rig, unfortunately. This is very delicate, so I've got to be very gentle and take that off. It has printed the detail, being an FDM printer. If you print this in resin, obviously you can print off more detail. Now, what I'm going to try and do is use the zoom function, or not the zoom function, the focus function, so that we can get an up. If I can get this in focus, it's a bit clunky. As we bring it up to the camera, let's try this. Here we go. It's just slight increments of the zoom function. So as you can see, it's printed off. Now that side's good, but the side that is on the printing plate is also slightly square, but if you want to paint it, you can sand that down and kind of get rid of this. But I would say that's the result, to be honest. There might be other ways that you could print it to avoid this. Could experiment with that. Right, I have to pause the video there. I actually made a new one up with 3 cross beams, and this is the original one. Now, as I said in the video, this section was actually quite flat, which was on the printing bed, but I never used an actual raft. This time I used a raft for it, and to be honest, the detail is a lot better. This is more rounded. So I printed off a bundle of them to put onto the board, and as I said, this is after I've already uploaded the video to YouTube, but I realised that when I printed extra ones off that was the case. So I probably, if this is okay, this was printed ages ago and it sat in the printer for a long time, so the actual plate is not warm, unfortunately. So this isn't too bad. Yep, I seem to have the same result with a smaller one as well. It's more rounded, better detail. So yeah, use a raft if you're making these up. And this one, it's really square at the back, so use a raft when printing these flat, get more detail. Okay, back to the end of the video. So the idea will be that pre-drilled holes, I will replace the ones that I've already got there, and they should fit in. And obviously I can print as many of these off as I want to finish off. The only thing I would like to do is create wires from each pole. That the issues I have with that is I know that I'll be working on the board and I would kind of catch them and tear them apart, obviously destroying the poles at the same time. So that's one of the reasons I won't really want to do that. But at least I have now a kind of more traditional looking power or telephone pole on the layout. If you've made it through this, I hope this has been useful, and just to show that you can actually design and print your own parts and additions to your model railway layout. Okay, well, thank you very much for watching.